American Timelines is a member of the Queen City Podcast Network, powered by Ortho Carolina. Find out more at queencitypodcastnetwork.com.
So now I'm obsessed with time. Come on, tell me about the time. Had it all in my hand tonight. Had the time of my life. When the words all come down like blues on Tuesdays come down.
Welcome to another episode of American Timelines. I'm Joe, and I have three awesome guests this week. Amy is still kind of taking a leave, trying to figure out her classroom. She'll be back next week, though. That's a cool announcement. She's got a really cool story in September she wants to tell, apparently. So we're in August of 1953, and let me introduce my guest this week. Returning after the last 2 weeks, we got Gruff. What's up, Gruff?
Not much. Happy days. Happy day to you, sir.
Gruff is a very happy guy. He's got a new microphone, so hopefully he sounds a little bit better. He's going to be our international correspondent for this episode. He's got a story about Israel, I think, or Iran, maybe,
or
the
Near East, just the Middle East,
somewhere in the Middle East. He's going to tell us about something. Basically, I got too confused, and I was like, "Hey, you look this up and explain it."
So you just passed on work.
I passed it on to the smart guy. Yeah.
Okay.
I appreciate you saying that, but no, thank you. I have time.
He has time, and he's very smart. And you just heard the voice of a colleague of mine from the Nerd School podcast, Miss TBJ. Welcome, TBJ.
Hello.
You guys have heard her on the American Timelines before. She's been on a few episodes ago, and we're lucky to have her sister here, Tempest. Say hi, Tempest.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to be here.
Yay. So Tempest and TBJ, I guess TB and TBJ, TB... T and TBJ.
You can just say TNT. We're like
TNT,
dynamite. TNT goes boom.
Oh,
that's like the boys.
That's awesome.
The boys that go boom. Yes.
Boom. TNT. Yes, the boys that go boom. All right, I love that song. I was just recently listening to that. But so we have these sisters here who are in their family. Everyone says they're the same person. So we got two of them. Double your pleasure, double your tea, whatever it is. But they are developing a podcast. Hopefully we'll put it out on History for Jerks, and it'll probably be the best thing we have. But they are developing a true crime podcast. Tell us about the idea behind it. You don't have to tell us the name yet.
Sure. I don't mind sharing the name if you don't mind.
Okay, yeah.
Something to look out for.
Yeah, for sure.
So Tempest and I are true crime aficionados. In another life, we could have been detectives.
Seriously, without the police work.
We contemplated it. If we didn't have to be beat cops first, we'd be detectives.
Okay.
It's not a path where you can go straight to detective, because if there were, we'd be it.
You'd have done it.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time watching true crime, listening to true crime, you name it. Podcast, as the TV doesn't change off of the ID channel. And so we've been thinking about just our stories, and we also noticed that the podcast world is hella pale when it comes to true crime.
Yeah, especially true crime. You got that right.
Yeah. And like, no shade, I love a good my favorite murder and criminal junkie.
Crime junkie.
Yes. But we want to tell some of our stories that we know, stories that have affected people in our communities. So we played a little 6 degrees of true crime. If you guys are familiar with Kevin Bacon, there's an international game called 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, where everyone knows someone who knows someone who knows someone who knows Kevin Bacon. So we started really thinking about our surroundings and people we knew and places we've grown up. Tempest and I are military brats, so we've grown up in a lot of places.
Yeah.
And we wanted to trace back 6 degrees of true crime and see where in what timelines have we come across people and places and stories that we can share from our perspective.
That's cool. That's really cool, because it'll be also a little more personal to you, because you'll at least know somebody who's affected by it. You know what I mean? Like, even if it wasn't your family, but if 6 degrees is a lot. So there should be a lot to cover. It might be things we haven't heard before. It's exciting. I think that's a great idea. So you say your TV never changed from ID channel. You guys are watching murder 24/7?
Well,
24/7. I am.
I use 24/7.
I'm 24/7.
We've talked about this on Nerd School. I watch a
Yeah.
good amount of Hallmark because I have to even out my attitude. And the best way to do that is sappy Hallmark.
You better thank Hallmark. And that's why, that's the tagline
that
down in
needs to
Nerd
be a
School.
shirt.
Yeah.
So I would say
Good one.
I'm about, 25, instead of 24/7, about 20 hours a week, 5 days a week.
Because you got the nerd stuff in there too, TBJ.
Yeah.
You got to be watching
Yeah.
the Marvel Cinematic Universe in there. You got to fit that in there.
Yeah, so mostly, but if we're together, then
Oh yeah.
TV's on
Oh, it's
true
automatic.
crime.
Now,
Yeah.
are you guys when you're together, are you guys like pausing it and being like, "Look, I think so and so did it," and
First
I know
of all, Joe, I'm going to point out that we are Black, so there's no pause. We just talk.
I'm about to say we don't pause, just talk through it.
We just talk over.
Exactly.
We're just fulfilling that stereotype.
Okay.
Or we'll call each other. If she watches something, she'll call me and be like, "You need to watch this documentary because here's the thing." And then we dissect it, and then we go through it. It's part of our lives. I know my kids think I'm a little cuckoo, but
When you dissect it, are you like going out to lunch or going to the library and like look at research? Or are you just like
no, we're
calling
on
each
the
other,
phone.
texting each other? You're just calling each other. Okay.
Oh, no,
Calling
we're
and
on the phone.
texting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's like not short combos. Like he can start
No.
and
My
go for
son, my
hours.
13-year-old loves it now. Like,
Yeah.
I
Oh,
even got
really?
my 13-year-old into it, sadly.
But
Yeah.
we also have we have a really little sister. Well, she's not really little, but she's 18.
Okay.
She was here this summer while we were both on the couch, just taking it in, and she's like, something is wrong with you guys.
I'm with her. I don't get the true crime thing. Like it's so. I mean, I get it. It's a huge genre right now. It's selling well. I mean, hell, this is a true crime podcast, but
Right.
I don't. And that's kind of what our
Well,
whole angle on
you
it is
have
that I don't
good
get it.
Situational awareness also. Like Tempest and I can go to an airport and we're spotting people. We're like, trouble.
Already. Yep.
We're watching
Mhm.
him. Don't go near anybody's kids. We see you.
That guy's a murderer.
Listen,
Exactly. Serial
we're not
killer.
always wrong.
They're out there.
So
They're out
we
there.
are. If you are out and about, and we are out and about, and you have kids, don't worry. Tempest and I are watching your kids to make sure
We are.
because
I feel like it's
awareness.
like there's
And
just
women too.
There's like for me, there's just like some kind of. Some of those, like Amy and I got into those. Forensic Files, I guess, for a while.
Yeah.
I started getting into them a
I watched
little
all
bit.
those.
You love
Yeah.
those, yeah. So she loves those too, obviously. But we got into those a little bit, and I just like felt like, I don't know. I kind of started feeling wrong. It was like, am I getting entertainment out of other people's misery? Like, am I? But
don't look at it as entertainment.
Yeah.
Look at it as like the more you know, right?
the more you know, you can teach yourself. Yeah.
The thing about true crime that I find the most fascinating, because we've learned with the boom of true crime that a lot of crime is not the boogeyman, right? The boogeyman
Sadly.
is in your family, right?
It's the
someone
people
you
next
know
door,
a
yeah.
lot. The statistics on how rare it is actually for a stranger crime is insane. But I credit true crime for making me look at even people in my family, and I'm like suspicious. But not in a bad way, but like
benefit of the doubt shouldn't go that far.
yeah, like you can pay attention and you're aware and you're just keeping your environment safe. If you paid attention enough, you know enough to tell your sister. If my sister brought home a dude that could be a psychopath, I now know to be like, no, ma'am.
Yeah.
Right.
I wish someone told me that before I got married, because I clearly married a psychopath.
That guy's got a severed head in a suitcase. You shouldn't date him anymore.
Yeah, or just like he's exhibiting signs of a narcissist or
that. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you
a
get into,
sociopath. It's a little
Yeah.
dangerous, girl. That could have
they get in the weeds on that stuff. Yeah, I
Mhm.
guess you do. Yeah. I don't know. My algorithms on Facebook somehow, I must have watched a a video of fans fighting at a football game too long, because
Lord.
now the videos on Facebook are nothing but fights. Like, it's just, and I'm watching them. The kids stop watching
Oh,
them.
you fed into it.
Oh,
Well,
sir.
just today there was a fight. There was a fight at in Atlanta at a Bath and Body Works.
Oh,
Like,
Lord.
some lady and
Oh.
3 of the employees are punching each other in the face. Like, the world's gone crazy. Anyway, so
All turned to third shift.
but I feel like that's a little bit true crime, except it's just people fighting. Like, I don't know. It's
I mean, it's a good
I don't like
step in
it.
people's limits and where people will explode, and the fact that you never know what will make someone snap. Because the lady fighting the Bath and Body Works employees apparently snapped. And now it was small scale, right? She didn't murder anybody. But
Right.
also, somebody should
It
get
could have happened.
out on her. Yeah.
Yeah, they better watch that. So yeah, and I'm telling my son he's learning to drive, and I'm like, no matter what, you don't flip anybody off, you don't
No.
engage anybody, you don't know who's got a gun out here.
Yeah, there are too many
it's a
cases
crazy-
of road rage turned murder.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
nuts. Yeah, that could be a whole podcast, and it probably is. There probably is
So
one.
true.
It's probably out there. Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, so we're excited about this upcoming thing. We're gonna do it. I'm gonna try to help them do it on their History for Jerks, and get
does
it
sound
going.
really cool.
I'm just excited to have another cool true crime thing and somebody with a different kind of voice and a different idea. Like, what a cool idea that you're connected to it. I'm excited about that, and I know it'll be good, because one thing I know is everything TBJ touches is gold.
Well, thank
So
you.
yeah, I'm
Thank
behind
you.
that 100%. But let's jump into the American timeline.
Let's do
where
it.
we left. Yes, okay, we left off in July. The end of July. We're in August of 1953, and I'm gonna just jump in at the beginning here, because on August 1st, 1953, Fidel Castro was arrested.
Whoa.
He was at this time sort of leading a revolution against Batista, I think, was in charge then. I looked into it. The story would have taken the whole episode to explain everything that happened. So I thought, well, this is an American timeline, so I'm just going to say that he was arrested and move on to August 2nd when I
You
have
tell other people to Google it. Yeah.
other people can just
There you
Google
go.
it. Because there's so much in this month. Like,
He
some
was
months
more
I don't
than a
have
baseball
much.
player.
Yeah, he was more than a baseball player.
Mhm.
He was Fidel Castro. I think of but he did play baseball, right?
There you go.
All right, we talk about that. Okay, August 2nd. Okay, have you guys ever heard of? I'm guessing nobody on this podcast is into country music. Are you guys into
Well.
country? Anybody?
My doctor plays it all the time, so I do have a few hits I like to listen to now. I can say.
We are Southern girls.
You guys are from Georgia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So maybe you've heard of this band, Steve. I don't know. You know a little country, but have you ever heard of the Davis sisters?
Nope.
They're
No,
early.
they actually don't ring a bell.
Okay, they're really
No.
early on. They
no.
only had a couple of hits because of what I'm about to tell you that happened. But so Betty Jack Davis and Skeeter Davis were the Davis sisters, but they weren't actually sisters. They were an American country a girl group. They were one of the first female country singer groups. And I'm going to sort of like sneak in some of their music because I think it's old enough now that I can maybe get away with it while I'm telling this, but I'll put that in post. But the Davis sisters were an American country music duo consisting of 2 unrelated singers, Skeeter Davis and Betty Jack Davis, one of the original female country groups. They're best known for their 1953 #1 country hit, I Forgot More Than You'll Ever Know. I don't know if that sounds familiar to you, but it's kind of cool. Yeah. Skeeter Davis's real name was Mary Frances Pinnock, so they weren't actually both Davises. The two came together casually in the late 1940s when they were both attending Dixie Heights High School near Covington, Kentucky. My father was a farmer and electrician, and we lived way out in the country, recalls Skeeter. Then he got a job in Cincinnati, so we moved near Covington, which is right across the Ohio River from Cincinnati. I was in my junior year. I didn't know anybody at school, but one day I was in home economics class, and the teacher had left, and this girl started singing I'll Hold You in My Heart, an Eddie Arnold song. I knew the song, and I just joined in. Later, she introduced herself as Betty Jack Davis. We liked each other instantly. Betty Jack, for her part, was born in Corbin, Kentucky in 1932 and had been intensely interested in music for all her young life. Pretty soon, adds Skeeter, we were singing together every day at lunch. Then we started spending the night together at each other's houses and got to be just like real sisters. I even moved in with the Davis family for a while. Betty Jack used to say to me, Skeeter, I never heard anything like you. God sent you to me because he knew I couldn't do it by myself. So here are these two sisters in rural Kentucky that just met and started singing together in class. Kind of a sweet story.
Oh, nice.
Appearances by the girls in local amateur contests led to a steady job on a noontime TV variety show on Cincinnati's WCPO TV. Davis and Pennick would drive over to the show during their school lunch hour. They received $14.28 a week for their efforts.
That's a hustle. That's a hustle.
That's
Yeah.
a money
53,
back
yeah.
then.
Uh-huh.
Back then,
Yeah.
it was, back in the day, in the late 40s. The MC of the show was in a hurry to introduce them one day and found himself unable to pronounce Pennick's last name, so he dubbed them the Davis sisters, and then the name stuck. That's how I got the name.
Okay.
I Forgot More Than You'll Ever Know was released as a single by RCA, quickly went to the top of the national charts. The two were booked for appearances at major country music venues, including a series of appearances in August with Eddie Arnold on Perry Como's TV show. The Grand Ole Opry was about to hire him for its Prince Albert show,
Nice.
which is not about Prince Albert's.
Clear your minds. Okay.
Steve, of course, Steve perks up because we all know Steve has
Yes.
a Prince Albert, in case you didn't know.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's sitting there with
Right.
Prince Albert right now. But anyway, they were about to make it really big, I guess. But unfortunately, right here on this date, August 2nd, 1953, tragedy would strike. The Davis sisters had just made their first appearance on WWVA's Wheeling Jamboree in Wheeling, West Virginia, when fate would change their careers forever. We were driving back, and I looked at the map and said, we're almost home. We've just got a few more miles to go, Skeeter adds, when you had to look at a map to drive anywhere back then.
Wow.
Right.
And Skeeter said, that's all I remember. I don't even remember anything about the accident. But when I finally did wake up in the hospital, Betty Jack was gone and the whole world
Aw.
was changed.
Damn.
Poor
The crash,
thing.
the crash occurred just outside Cincinnati when a soldier on leave fell asleep at the wheel of his car and crashed head on into their car.
Oh no.
Yeah, Betty Jack was killed instantly. Skeeter suffered a concussion and various internal injuries. A few days later, on August 6th, Betty Jack was laid to rest in Highland Cemetery. At the urging of Betty Jack's family, Skeeter started recording with Georgie Davis, Betty Jack's older sister, for a while. And they made a fine harmony, but they didn't really have the chemistry that she had with Betty Jack. And the magical spontaneity and innocence that existed between those two was no longer there. In their last RCA Victor sessions in 1957, after their last sessions in 1957, Georgie returned to Covington, where she still resides today. And Skeeter, 2 years later, joined the Grand Ole Opry as a solo artist, I guess.
Nice.
I got all that on, oddly enough, on ronstatlinda.com, the Linda Ronstadt homepage. It's an unofficial website dedicated to, as they say, America's greatest female singer, Linda Ronstadt.
I mean, find your resources where you can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is
There
the
you
first
go.
thing that came up. They had extensive story about this. So never heard of them. If you want to listen to it, you heard a little bit earlier when I first started talking. I'm not a country fan myself, but poor Betty Jack.
I know.
Well, I mean, just hope it was
Sad
quick.
tragedy.
guess I
R.I.P. Betty Jack.
R.I.P. Betty Jack. I guess I could pour one out for her.
There you go.
And then on August 5th, 1953, the movie From Here to Eternity was released based on a book by James Jones, directed by Fred Zinnemann and starring Burt Lancaster, Montgomery Clift, and Frank Sinatra. You guys familiar with that?
Nope. A lot of pale males there. Dude. A lot of pale males.
Pale males. The best picture of 1954. I try to watch it because I'm trying to watch every best picture movie, but I honestly, Donna Reed is in it too, but I fell asleep several times. It's just
I'm not
50s.
surprised that you did. Yeah.
Yeah, you know me. I Yeah, it takes a lot to keep my attention, I guess. I don't really have anything else to say about that, but yeah, a lot of pale males. And then August 7th. So August 7th, 1953. Are you guys familiar? Do you guys all know? Have you heard of the mountain K2?
Is it an actual mountain or
It's a
are you?
mountain. It's the second
No.
largest mountain in the world, I guess.
No, not at all.
Okay, you've heard of K2, right?
There's a movie about people like climbing it and shit.
Yeah. Do you know where K2 is?
I assume it's somewhere in the Himalayas or Tibet or somewhere in there, but I don't know.
Okay.
Well, I feel like is it in the United States?
No.
I thought
Is
you
it in the
think
Alps?
American timeline, but whatever.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Gosh. Yeah, right. Okay. It is American timelines, but I think maybe this guy was American that did this. I have an amazing story about it. So what I'm going to say is on August 7th, this group of people went to climb it. So earlier in the year, I think people had just climbed Mount Everest for the first time. Like it was a big major thing. But this is the second highest mountain on Earth after Mount Everest. It's 29,000 feet high or something. It lies in the Karakoram range in part of the Gilgit-Baltistan region of Pakistan. Pakistan administered Kashmir and part of a China administered territory of the Kashmir region, included in the Taxkorgan Tajik Autonomous County of Xinjiang.
Xinjiang, the performing artist? Is that?
No, I think you're thinking of Shenyang.
No, sounds very similar.
Xinjiang. I don't know.
No, don't do that.
But K2, no, Xinjiang is what it. I was thinking Gangnam stuff. All right. K2 also became popularly known as a savage mountain after George Bell, a climber on this 1953 expedition. It's an American expedition on this mountain. He told reporters, "It's a savage mountain that tries to kill you. Of the 5 highest mountains in the world, K2 is the deadliest. Approximately 1 person dies on the mountain for every 4 who reach the summit, I guess."
Why people climbing this damn mountain?
I wouldn't want to. Right, I wouldn't want to climb it.
I don't understand mountain climbers. I actually understand them less than true crime people. Like, why risk your life? Like, do you not like it enough? Like,
see, no thanks. That's
for beauty,
that's a special breed. Like, I can take in the mountain. I can be like, "Oh, you look great from down here."
From
but
down
if you
here,
tell me 1 in 4 people die attempting to climb this mountain, nothing inside my soul goes, "Ooh, challenge accepted."
Yeah, right. Because what do you get? What do you get? Nothing.
Bragging rights. You get bragging rights.
That's crazy. So they started their expedition on August 7th. And then on August 8th, we have our first American birthday. So I gotta hit the birthday music theme. I will insert the birthday. And the whole thing with this is Amy, who I usually do this with, hates birthdays. And so I have a theme song called Amy Hates Birthdays that I'll put on here. She doesn't hate birthdays. She just hates the stupid ones that I choose. Amy hates birthdays. Amy hates birthdays. And I try to choose stupid ones.
You do a fine job at it too.
And this is no different because on August 8th, 1953, American actor and director Donnie Most was born.
Yes, Ralph the Mouth.
He played Ralph Malph on Happy Days. He was born in Brooklyn, New York. He went to Erasmus Hall High School in Brooklyn. Their colors are blue and white, home of the Dutchmen in Flatbush.
I love a Leo. Woohoo.
Yeah, and apparently this school is haunted, according to Michael Rappaport, who also went there. Other notable, they said, what do they say? Why do they say it's haunted? I can't remember. But I will look that up at some point. But other notable alumni of that school are Barbara Streisand, Neil Diamond, and Mo Howard from the Three Stooges.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Mo Howard.
Also on August 8th, 1953, Sam Beckett was born.
Yay.
A fictional character, character on Quantum Leap.
Oh,
the guy
I do
from
love
Quantum
Leap. Yeah.
So apparently on that show, he was born on August 8th, 1953, which why
So
I
you
know
can
that.
never go further back than August 8th, 1953.
Oh, is that right? Is that he time travels only within his lifetime? Is that right?
I think that was one of the conceits of that show.
I think
like,
so.
you
I think
only-
you're right. I watched it
Yeah.
all the time back in the day.
I used to
He
love that.
wasn't
in
going
school.
like way in the future. It had to be within his own timeline.
Yeah.
Anytime I can bring Quantum Leap into a conversation, I'll do that. So that brings us to August 10th, back to K2. An American named Pete Schoening was 24,500 feet high up on K2. 24,000 feet in the air. Okay. When
Yeah.
5 of his
On
fellow
purpose.
on purpose, yeah. And he was with 5. Well, he was with more climbers, but 5 of his fellow climbers fell, tumbling down an icy slope.
Ooh.
Now, and what happened next became legendary to climbers as the belay, Belay, the belay. I've never heard of that term. You guys know what that is?
Not at all.
All right, I didn't either, but I never know when I look stuff up. It's like, am I stupid or am I, or does nobody know this? Like a lot of times nobody knows it, but a lot
I mean,
of
the
times
people
I'm
who
stupid.
climb mountains probably know it.
They probably know.
People
Yeah,
that
I'm
are
probably
like
saying it
almost
wrong.
K2 Lord shit, I
Yeah.
imagine would.
So a belay, I guess, is a like an axe that you climb with, like a climbing axe, I think.
Okay.
It has
Okay.
like rope
Oh,
on
okay.
it. And I guess from what I can understand from the story, like you have rope on an axe, and I think when you climb with a bunch of people, I think
Everyone's tied together.
they're all tied together, you know, you wrap around each other and you
Mhm.
help or whatever. I guess.
Okay,
So
that makes
that's what that
sense.
is. So this was the same year that Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay climbed Mount Everest. Now, Tenzing Norgay, I talked about this on an earlier episode. He was the Sherpa. In my mind, the Sherpa does all the fucking work. He's
Oh,
the
yeah.
fucking hero. And
They
the stupid white guy that gets all the fame, which I don't get that. I don't get it. But anyway, it's the same year that they did that. On this today, on August 7th, the 7th day, or my August 10th now.
Yep.
Climbing without oxygen in a storm, they became trapped at over 25,000 feet on the Abruzzi Ridge of K2. One of the expedition members, Art Gilkey, collapsed. He had deep venous thrombosis. That's a medical condition that occurs when a blood clot forms in a deep vein. And then that was followed by a pulmonary embolism.
Oh.
So this guy's fucked. Like
Fucked.
he's
Right.
died. Like
Yeah.
one of the guys
Fucked on
was
a
hurt.
mountain.
So I would think if you're on this expedition with people, you got to decide like, it's you
Oh,
or
yeah.
us, man. Like at some
Not
Not
even
point,
even
us.
us.
You or me. You or me, dog.
Yeah,
You or
dude.
me.
and you got to be bonding with these people, right? Because you're climbing forever.
Yeah.
I mean,
Hey, dude.
So-
Ever.
well, they realized that Gilkey would surely die if he's not taken off the mountain immediately. So they began to lower Gilkey. They wrapped him in a sleeping bag, and they lowered him. They're trying to lower him down the mountain over treacherous rock and ice in the middle of a storm.
Lord.
I gotta say, I don't know how close you are to me. Like, if it's a storming out there and you got, I'm sorry,
As your
Gilkey.
friend, Joe,
It
you
takes
can
a
just leave
special
me to
person
freeze.
to even try and
I'll
climb
be
the mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm about to say I wouldn't be out there in the first place to make that decision.
Yeah,
but
right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'd be like, why did I come? Why did I do this? What am I doing? I want to go home. Anyway, while attempting to traverse an ice sheet, climber George Irving Bell, the guy that said it's trying to kill him, lost his footing, pulling Stony Strether loose. So they're like hanging on this thing, and one lost his footing, hits the other guy, knocks him loose. He fell into the rope, joining Charles Houston and Bob Bates, 2 other guys. They fell into the rope connecting D. Molnar to Gilkey, leaving them all hurtling down an icy 45-degree slope. So 90 would be this, so 45 is like this.
Thanks for the math lesson, Joe.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to do it, but nobody can see this anyway
I
because
can-
it's an audio podcast.
I got
Anyway,
it.
towards a cliff and a fall. If they go over this cliff, it's a fall of 1,000 feet. Pete Schoening, this hero, despite already holding Gilkey on a belay, which is, I guess, a running rope around a cleat, rock, pin, or other object to secure it, he anchored his axe in a boulder and wound the rope around his hip. He had to do it fast while all these guys are falling. And he leaned all his weight on the axe, and the 5 men falling to their deaths slowed and stopped. and did not fall. They're like hanging over the edge. Thousands.
Oh my
They did
gosh.
not fall thousands of feet to their deaths. And they all say he did this through strength, quickness, and skill. Shonen considered himself merely lucky, but his companions felt otherwise. So he caught him, stopped him from falling. And during the team's scramble to recover from the fall and establish a forced bivouac. You guys know what a bivouac is? I had to look up this word.
Hell
It's a
no.
little camp, right?
Yeah, it's like a camp. It's like a temporary camp, which
Yeah.
All right,
I never
Steve
heard that
with the
word.
knowledge.
Yeah, Steve, man, survivalist over here. Like, this is my Google search history. Google's got to wonder, who the fuck are you? Like, I'm
What is it?
searching murders. I'm searching bivouac, and what was the other thing?
The belay.
A belay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so while they're getting off the mountain and they're making their bivouac, which is like a camp, they discover that Gilkey, who had been in voice contact with them the whole time, they're yelling down to him. They thought he was suspended in that sleeping bag still. He vanished along, yeah.
What?
Damn.
Yeah.
He just
and
slide out of the sleeping bag.
all of his anchors were gone, everything. He was just gone, no trace of him. And so Houston, one of the guys, among others, speculated that following Bell's fall, they think Gilkey cut himself loose to save the lives of the other 5 who were all injured because of the falling in ice.
Yeah.
So they think he just like, okay, go ahead.
No, I'm good.
Which I kind of feel like is the right thing to do at this point. Like, he's not going to make it anyway.
But ooh, yeah.
It's a tough call. Like, but it's a storm on top of everything else. So the story of this expedition is told in the book K2, The Savage Mountain by Charles Houston, MD, and Robert Bates. Today, the belay is considered one of the belay they use is considered to be one of the most famous. The belay, this event, I'm sorry, is considered to be one of the most famous events in mountaineering history. Shoning's ice axe is currently on display at the Bradford Washburn American Mountaineering Museum in Golden, Colorado. So I know you guys, Tempest and Tiffany, you're going to go there for your next vacation.
Someone to
right?
do this. Mhm.
Anyway, so it's a big deal, I guess. So there's that story. And there's a peak in Antarctica named after Pete Schoening now. They named something after him.
Oh,
And he's a big deal.
Lives. He's a hero. Yeah.
That he died in 2004 of bone cancer at
Oh,
his home in Kenmore, Washington, at the age of 77. So
he lived a
guess
life,
That's tough.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
lucky he lived to 77.
right?
Right.
And that brings us to August 11th, when I can't pass up a pro wrestler. When a pro wrestler is born, August 11th, 1953, the son of construction foreman Peter Bolea of Italian descent and a homemaker and dance teacher Ruth V. Moody.
This is
You know what this
Terry.
is? Terry
This is
Bolea,
Terry.
Hulk Hogan.
Oh,
He was born, and when he was 1.5 years old, his family moved to Port Tampa, Florida. He was born in Georgia, but I
Oh.
left out that I accidentally deleted what town in Georgia because I wanted to tell you guys where he was born.
teeny
'cause
tiny town.
You guys are from Georgia, but I accidentally deleted it, I guess.
It's- Forgive you.
Can you forgive me? We'll look it up later and I'll text
One
you.
time.
But when he was, then he moved to Tampa, Florida when he was 1. And as a boy, he was a pitcher in Little League Baseball. He attracted scouts from the New York Yankees and the Cincinnati Reds, but an injury ended his baseball career. And then he got into the crazy world of wrestling. But Hulk Hogan went to Thomas Richardson Robinson High School in Tampa. Black and silver are their colors, home of the Knights. And I couldn't find a single notable alumni that I've heard of. It was all sports figures and old wrestlers. I think Dirty Dick Slater is the only wrestler I had heard of. So I went a little deeper and I looked up Thomas Richardson Robinson High School's rival school, which was Henry B. Plant High School. And they were black and gold. They were the Panthers. And Gallagher and Wade Boggs went to that school. So his rival school. I just like to, with Amy gone, she hates when I talk about this stupid random bullshit. But I want to know what high school every single celebrity went to. and I will
I mean,
eventually.
it's fascinating because sometimes you find that they weren't in Hollywood and like 5 of them came out of one random school in the middle of anywhere.
Oh, my favorite is the school Sam Cooke went to in Chicago. There's so many unbelievable famous singers. I think like Gladys Knight went there, and like there's like 100 million. Herbie Hancock, like there's
I
just
believe it.
all these amazing artists that went to the same school. Like to me, that's amazing. I don't know. Anyway, and then like talking about the stupid mascots that they pick for these schools. And then August 12th, a little women's history
Somebody's
here.
birthday is August 12th. Her
It
name
is a Festus lady's birthday. Yeah.
Tempest
Yeah.
birthday.
Oh,
Yep.
Tempest loves birthdays.
Of course, she was not born in 1953, but
Yeah, there's no
Shout out
way.
to
Definitely
August
not.
Tempest
33
I mean-
years later.
she could be. You don't know her origin story, but she wasn't.
You look really good for being 70 years old.
Yep, black don't crack, Joe. Mhm.
That's right. That is
Definitely.
true. Well, this is a little women's history here. Kick-ass women of history. August 12th, 1953, Ann Davison. Is it Davis? Did I delete the D or is it Davison? Damn it. Sometimes I have typos. I think it's Ann Davison. She arrives in Miami in her 23-foot boat named Felicity Ann. She became the first woman to sail solo across the Atlantic.
Felicity Ann. That is a
Felicity
very
Ann.
interesting name.
Yeah, that's the name of her boat. Ann Davison. She was still relatively inexperienced. Ann Davison was. She taught herself how to sail, and she made up for that with sheer nerve. She learned as she went along, and she taught herself to navigate with a sextant as she sailed, which is some kind of navigating equipment. She was met with many challenges, and her lack of experience showed, but all the while, her towering resolve and strength of character helped her overcome the many hurdles she faced. And Felicity Ann endured storms and difficult situations, but for Ann, she said the hardest part was the isolation. It took her like, I don't know, like almost a year, almost a year, like 6 months or something, maybe.
I could do that. That would be
Oh
hard.
wow.
That's another thing, like going across the ocean. Like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go to
But
space.
listen, who knows what's in the deep blue sea? That's like,
right.
there's so many things we have not discovered in the sea
Yes.
because it's so vast and so crazy. I don't know if I'm just gonna be bopping on a boat.
I think there's
But more
super
power
intel-
to her badassery.
That is, she's a badass woman, and she should be celebrated. Nobody's ever heard of her because everybody's a misogynistic asshole.
Yeah, we live in a world where women's voices are silent.
Yes. But I do think, on a side note, I think the ocean is filled with like super intelligent squids that are mind controlling all of us.
You think that?
Does that sound practical?
I was gonna say the Loch Ness monster has a whole, gang in different parts of the world, right? There's like
maybe
the
it's
Eastern
that,
Loch
yeah.
Ness monsters. They're not
Could
just
be.
in Scotland, like they're everywhere. That's my theory about the deep blue sea.
Ooh, you think there's like monsters down there? Well, it's
I
really
just think about Finding Nemo with the little light bug, and he looks scary. That's all I think about.
All right. I'm getting close to you guys. I got one more. I got a couple more birthdays. I have
All
too much
right.
bullshit to go. I'll try to make these
We'll
quick.
get the birthdays out now before Amy comes back.
Well, for me, the thing is like I'm really amazed when two people were born on the same day, because it's not only the same, it's the same date. It's not just the same
Well-
birthday. They were born on the same day, the same year.
I love that fascinates you as if the world isn't made up of millions and millions of people.
Well, I mean, two famous people. Like they're both super famous. How were they both born
Yeah.
on the same day?
Amy hates birthdays. Amy hates birthdays.
So James Taylor and Kathy Lee Gifford were both born on August 16th. And I did research, and I don't know much about either one of these two.
You don't know much about Kathy Lee.
Kathy Lee Gifford, I had no idea why she was famous. Like, I thought she was just on Regis, which I
Oh,
guess
Lord.
is basically it.
I mean, that's her big chunk, but she's been out here in these streets for a long time as a thing.
I just can't picture her out here in these streets.
She's a little
Kathy Lee-
kooky, but she's been out here.
She's crazy. And James Taylor, you know him from I get him and Cat Stevens mixed up. So I'm not
Yeah, I can see
sure.
that.
I knew which one was which, but James Taylor's from kind of around this area, Chapel Hill, sort of.
Yeah, down the road.
James Vernon Taylor was born at Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston, where his father worked as a resident physician. His father had come from the wealthy family from the South. His mother, the former Gertrude Woodard, studied singing at the New England Conservatory of Music and was an aspiring opera singer. In 1951, his family moved to Chapel Hill, North Carolina. So that's why they say he's from kind of this area we're from. So we're from Charlotte. We're recording this from Charlotte, North Carolina. Those of you who don't know. But so James Taylor went to two different schools, one up in Boston area and one in Chapel Hill. So I got two schools. He went to Milton Academy, home of the Mustangs. Team colors orange and blue in Massachusetts in 1961. Notable alumni include T.S. Eliot, Robert Kennedy, and Ted Kennedy, and Jenny Slate. I don't know if you know her. She's a comedian. Anyway, he faltered during his junior year, feeling uneasy in the high-pressure college prep environment. He returned home to North Carolina to finish out his semester at Chapel Hill High School. They're Gold and Black, home of the Tigers. Alumni include rapper Strick, who's Torrin Oleander Strickland. He's worked with Travis Scott and Wiz Khalifa. I like him. And also went to school with, I didn't know from this area, Clark Gregg.
Oh,
We talked about him
that
on the
guy
Nerd School.
from Avengers and Shield and shit.
Yeah, the Shield guy. The guy.
Force Knight.
What's his name in the Shield in the
Colson.
Marvel?
Agent Coulson.
Oh, Coulson. Agent
The
Coulson. TBJ.
beloved Colson.
The beloved Phil Coulson. And did you guys know who that actor's married to?
Mm-mm.
I fell down a rabbit hole. I fall down every birthday. Clark Gregg is married to Jennifer Grey from Dirty Dancing.
Oh, really?
Nice.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And now you know. And knowing is half the battle. Anyway, he was in bands and everything. But now let's get a Catholic give her born the same day. She was born in Paris, France, to American parents Joan Cuttle and a singer who was a singer, and Aaron Epstein. Her name was Catherine Lee Epstein when she was born. And her dad was a musician and former U.S. Navy chief petty officer. He was stationed with his family in France at the time. So he's a military brat. You guys like that? She grew up
that in common.
Yeah. She grew up in Bowie, Maryland, and attended Bowie High School. They were navy blue, burgundy, and white, home of the Bulldogs. Notable alumni. The only one I could even know who it was, and I barely know who this person is. JC Chazé from NSYNC.
What you mean you barely know who he is?
I had to look up how to pronounce his name. I thought it was Chassis.
Come on.
JC Chassis.
He's got the voice. First of all, listen.
Oh boy, we have an NSYNC supporter here?
Yes. And what about it?
Now this guy's got to be the least famous NSYNC guy, right?
But he's the best singer of NSYNC. He's not the least favorite. Most people know they made him second in a lot of things, but his vocals are better.
So we all know JT. We all know Justin Timberlake. He's the big name. We all know Lance Bass because he came out and is doing all kinds of stuff now. He's on TV and everything. We all know Joey Fat Tone because he's the fat one, right?
He's on TV too. No, it's Fatone.
Okay. And then there's this guy. Is there two more?
No, there's two more. I can't remember the other guy's name. Most people know. So JC released a solo album.
Oh.
The record company didn't really pump him like they said. Like I almost dare you to go back and listen. Back in the day, I support JT. There's some sus stuff he's done in the last few years, so I can't.
JT
like
or
that.
JC?
No, JT. But if you go back and listen between him and JC has the better voice.
Whoa.
Like hands down, better voice.
But you're saying JT did some sus stuff?
First of all, let's talk about the incident with Janet Jackson where he didn't get in trouble.
Oh,
he did.
Boob.
And was basically
Janet
blackballed forever, and he never actually apologized.
Oh yeah,
accountability for his stuff.
Yeah, he
just did. He late.
Yeah,
Right.
a million years later, right? You also got in trouble for getting real close to your female star, getting caught on camera with that and having to apologize, even though you were married with kids. Listen,
That was another thing.
yeah.
I didn't hear about that one.
Trust me, I be knowing the gossips. 'Cause
Man,
I don't have a life.
so man, shit. I had another question about NSYNC. I can't believe you just dropped some serious knowledge about JC
Bye,
Chaz's.
bye. Listen,
Bye.
I don't understand how you don't know them.
I'm old.
Joe, we're not that
and
far apart in age. One.
I'm 78.
Okay. Sorry. You were vampiring it around.
I'm
I missed
vampire.
that.
No,
Yeah.
but I just NSYNC I never.
Boy
was a
bands weren't your thing.
No, yeah, and there is a thing with guys, and Steve can kind of back me up on this, like guys of a certain background and supposed manliness and having to be this thing. Like we have to. I remember when we were in middle school, in New Kids on the Block were the big thing.
Yeah.
And we were not allowed to like them. We had
It
to hate
wasn't
their
hard.
guts.
They weren't
well,
New Edition.
Don't you dare. I love both. Like I have brothers
and
who
I-
marry
Boy
someone
bands
from
was
each
it.
band. Don't play games.
Like,
I'm just gonna have
We were
all
allowed
the
to
boy
like
band
New-
husbands.
Isn't that funny? We were allowed to like New Edition. We were cool.
Yeah.
You were cool if you liked New Edition, but you were gay if you liked New Kids on the Block.
You know, misogyny
That's
at its
funny.
best.
That's
and
just the way it was
homophobia.
in the 80s, in the late 80s, early 90s,
90s,
and then even when NSYNC, like I don't even remember when were they big? Was it early 2000s?
Same time as Britney Spears, so it had to be
Yeah, all them Backstreet Boys.
late
They're not talking about my
90s, late
favorite boy band.
90s. Yeah, mid to late 90s.
Okay, so so
Early
that
2000s.
I was just drinking a lot. Like that. I didn't really pay attention to a lot of that. I don't know if it's just what was I
Well,
listening
it's a
to?
birthday
I don't
we're
know.
celebrating. If anyone listens to this, we should start a campaign to make JC have another album. Let's do it.
Let's support JC Chaz's. He seems like a nice guy. Chazé or whatever. He
But
looks like
hasn't really
Not
managed
Chavez, yeah.
facial hair.
he was the one. He had like a
Chazé.
flavor saver or something,
Okay.
No, I mean,
right?
I'll find you a picture. I'll show you a picture.
The video I watched where he pronounced his name, where I learned how to pronounce his name, he had like a little flavor saver. Anyway, that's enough about that guy. But it wasn't his birthday. It was just he went to the same school.
He was an alumni. That's fine.
He went an alumni of the same school in Boston that Kathy Lee Gifford went to. But she was like Kathy Lee Gifford was like she was in musicals and
she's a true entertainer. Yeah.
But she attended Oral Roberts University in Tulsa, and she was a live-in secretary / babysitter for Anita Bryant at her home in Miami. Who was Anita Bryant? I think was a racist or a homophobic or something. So that's a negative thing. But anyway, she went on to marry Frank Gifford, who was awful and cheated on her.
But she stayed with him until the end.
Yeah, man.
Mm-hmm.
I think she did. Okay, I'm going to get to your guys' stuff real quick. August 18th, I'm going to burn through this. 1953, the second Kinsey report, Sexual Behavior in the Human Female, was published in the U.S. in 1953. So these Kinsey reports, you guys familiar with what the Kinsey report? That it was the first one was Sexual Behavior in the Human Male, and then this one was in the Human Female. They were famous because they were best-selling books that were immediately controversial, both within the scientific community and the general public, because they challenged conventional beliefs about sexuality and discussed subjects that had previously been taboo. Think about in the 50s, nobody talks about sex at all. Well, the Kinsey report was like the first one to say that there's not just gay and straight. It's not just straight people and gay people. There's a sliding scale. You're like
sexuality is not black and white.
Yeah, you're just everybody's a little bit gay and a little bit straight, and you're just over here and over here. And so that was people did not want to hear that. Some of the controversy was that they're like married women weren't into sex as men were and things like that. And then a lot of people were upset because she used prison populations to interview like people in prison. They're like, that's skewed. Of course, people in prison are more gay, and then they were also upset. What some other things they were upset by. It's just like, that I guess she did interview some pedophiles, and people were like, "That's bullshit. Like, why are you interviewing these fuckers?"
She was gathering data. I mean,
yeah, so it's like
she was just
there's
gathering
something.
data.
Yeah, it was very controversial, and I don't know much about. I mean, you can really Google these and fall really down a rabbit hole, but it was really fascinating to me that the 50s is when something like that came out and really like challenged people's ideas about stuff. But that brings us to August 19th, I think. Steve, I think you have. We're going to go
August
international
19th,
here. You
the
got
day that-
something. Yeah, you got something to tell us about.
All right. Hey. Nothing big. It was just the last day of the 4-day coup in Iran that toppled the first democratically elected government in Iran, let alone the Middle East. So,
All right, so we directed it. The American CIA directed this.
well,
right?
To be honest, we were just the independent contractor brought in by Britain's MI6 because at the time, our head of the North. Where are you, Kermit? His name's Kermit, which is one of my favorite things.
Oh, okay.
Real name.
Kermit Roosevelt. There it is. Kermit Roosevelt was the head of the CIA Northeastern African Division. And yes, he was Teddy Roosevelt's grandson.
Oh, okay.
He was called into Iran on July 19th to, overthrow the government. So he starts doing things to get that rolling. The basic ways: he buys off the press, buys off the military, buys off the clergy, and starts a very adamant negative campaign against the main focus being the Prime Minister Mossadegh, who wanted to renegotiate the oil deal with Britain and the Anglo Persian oil company, which would later become BP. They didn't think that Britain getting 80-ish% of the revenue and Iran only getting 10 to 12% was cool. So they wanted to renegotiate it after 40 some years. And Britain didn't. So seeing as this guy, Kermit Roosevelt Jr., had just worked with the Saudi royalty to put them in power and get America a kick-ass deal on their oil, because we are still reeling from Mexico nationalizing their oil. They're like, hey, this dude knows how to topple governments, bring him in. So they did. And it almost worked. However, Mossadegh caught wind and stopped it on the 15th and was riding it out. And the American government sent word to, hey, back off. That word never got to Kermit. And Kermit said, I got a plan B. I think I got a plan B. I think I can call some people. And call some people he did. He called the general, the general and the Shah and the Ayatollah, and said, I got an idea. All we have to do is line up a bunch of criminals and pay them to support communism and Mossadegh. And he did. And he sent them to this city to pose as members of and infiltrate the Tudeh party, which was the local communist party in Iran. And soon all the members were looting and destroying local shops with cries of communist revolution and down with capitalism and up with Mossadegh.
All because this American guy planted them in there to do this?
No, he's been there for a month, slowly paying off people.
Okay.
Like paying off the press, paying off the local, where is it?
I just find it interesting when they're like, pull back. He's like, no, wait a minute.
Well,
Yeah,
no,
he's got
that's
another
the,
plan,
the
yeah.
funny thing is
Let me
that
do
while
more.
this was happening, America was trying to get him to pull back, and Britain was just losing the message. And that's been the official story since like the 50s. You know, and Britain's like, yeah, we got your call. We tried to call him, but it was hard to get a hold of people in East Africa.
Sorry, my phone thing was crazy.
Exactly. It's great. But no, he bought out the press. He recruited the local clergy, the mullahs and the ayatollahs, and then he got the Shah on his side, by who was already having trouble sharing power with the parliament, because they kind of, at the time, they had a parliamentary system nearest equivalent to Britain, but without the House of Commons, just the House of Lords and the royalty. And, you know, so that didn't really, it failed at first. He had a plan B. He enacted the plan B, which was a full-scale riot. He hired two sides to fight each other, and then had them essentially surround Mossadegh's household. Then, since he had the general on his side, the general sent the army in to just shoot and arrest everyone. Mossadegh turned himself in by the end of the day, and there you go.
So
The
Mossadegh,
general,
what's the guy's
What?
name? The president that they overthrew?
Prime Minister, Prime Minister Mossadegh.
Mossadegh.
Mosamek.
Mosadegh.
So I mean, I guess the kind of the reason I want to give that to you is like, I was looking him up and he seemed like a good guy. Like
Oh,
he
he
was
a good guy.
like a peaceful guy. He cared about the country.
He was very much the one of the ironies is that the ruling class were the established aristocracy were just as anti-communist as America was at the time. And beforehand, we were actually under Truman, we were scouting Mossadegh to see if we could get him to work with us. But Ike, who took over in 53, thought it would be much better to have a place to fight a proxy war against the growing threat of Russian communism.
And so all because Great Britain was getting a shitty deal on oil. Like they were, I mean, they weren't getting a shitty deal. They were already getting the best deal.
They were wanting to remain greedy.
Yeah, there was a threat of renegotiation.
So fucking crazy.
But it's very British of them. How dare you?
Oh yeah, no, it's
our good deal.
Yeah, it's so shitty. It's just
like when they first came to America for help, Truman's answer was, "You made us eat it when Mexico nationalized theirs, so no, you eat this." You know. But once Ike got in power, it was just immediately changed over. It's like, nope, we can fight a war there.
Yeah, right. Truman said no. Eisenhower said yes.
The three references were NPR has that wonderful show called Throughline.
Throughline is an awesome podcast.
Yeah.
There you go.
I would definitely. It
is really good to tune into.
It's so they're so smart, those two on there.
But also I looked up there's a site called the Zinn Project. It's corrective history, which is
that Howard Zinn?
Yeah, dude, I've loved that. I've loved that rap pastor forever.
Yeah. That rap
pastor. But all the Shah, there's an abstract on the book, All the Shah's Men, which is where a lot of the information came from. And then I also read an abstract on the NSA archives of the Iran coup.
Well, I appreciate you doing that because I read it, I thought I understood it. I was like, I feel like a dumb guy. I was like, Steve can like tell me if I'm get this right or not.
No, you probably understood it. It's just so simple. It's just you don't want to understand it.
Well,
You
that's
don't
what
wanna
through
think
it
it's
just
that.
makes you
You
like
want to
sad,
think
like,
it should be more you
Exactly.
want to think it should be more complicated than that, but really
Yeah.
it boils
but
down.
it's it
You
seems
want to
like
think
not.
it's
It's
more
just
than greed and fear, but it's
greed
not.
has
But,
ruined so
you know,
much. Yeah.
Sadly.
The way the world is set up.
Yeah. Well, Throughline's really great. They have a couple new episodes on. They're really talking a lot about what's going on in what's in the news
I like
right
how your
now?
brain just froze.
I did. Oh, Afghanistan.
now.
Like they got a bunch of talk about Afghanistan now that
Oh,
all this stuff we're pulling out of Afghanistan. That's the hot news now. It's like it's talking about the history of Afghanistan and how we got where we are, which I've always wondered.
yeah,
Like,
the
how did
history
we
of
get?
the history of the Middle East is wonderful, man.
It's really just sad. It's like they have all the oil. It's been cursed with, and even before oil, like bronze in the Bronze Age,
Yeah.
Mhm.
like
Yeah,
they had all the
yeah.
tin that you needed to mix with bronze to make
Yeah.
Yep.
copper
You need to mix with the
to make
copper to get
bronze
the
or whatever.
bronze,
Like
yeah.
they've always had the resources everybody wants.
Oh, dude.
And
You
been the
better
center
hope
of-
they better hope they don't find any lithium somewhere or uranium or Jesus.
It's just
Right.
yeah, it's just a crazy world. Well, I got great job, Steve.
One of the other things I want to say is like one of the quotes from Throughline. The one quote I liked, the exchange I liked. At that time, Britain and the Shahs were the bad guys, but America was kind of an ally in their fight. To which the person responded, "Yeah, exactly." Until they got involved. Yeah. But
Yeah.
that also one of the major disconnects when it comes to American and Iran relations is most Americans don't go before 1973
Mhm.
or 1979 and that hullabaloo.
Well, Throughline is hosted by Rund Abel Fattah and Ramton Arablouei, which I've been practicing trying to say their names. So that's a great thing. But we got a murder to get to.
Yes.
So we got to keep
We
moving.
got murdered.
But we got murders, I guess. It's time to
Nice.
feature the ladies. It's ladies' night. It's time for TNT to tell us all
Boom.
about an awful, horrible murder, probably.
Yeah.
So this is
Sadly.
August 20th. Is that right?
Yep.
Yep.
August
1953?
20th, 1953. So we're going to see the story of the Fralin family, Frayden. You got Dr. William Frayden, his school teacher wife, Shirley, and their 22-year-old son, Harlow Frayden. They're kind of the main people. There are a few other people that you need to know, but let's start with these three.
Okay.
So basically, on August 20th, the cops show up to a house. In the kitchen of the house, it is a Dr. Frayden on the ground in his pajamas, he's dead, and his face is in just shock and horror, right? That's what they see. And then next to him is his wife, who seems to be in street clothes, but also same horrible expression on her face.
She's dead too?
Yeah, they're both
Yes.
they're on the ground. This is what the cops show up to,
The cops show up and find a couple
just dead.
dead on the ground
Dead.
the
Yep.
same night that on CBS Take a Guess was on, the summer quiz show, where
They
the
missed-
moderator and studio audience know what a mystery object was, and the contestant had to determine what it was based on a question asked by panelists that same
Yep.
day.
They
That's
missed
the
that
only interruption.
episode. They missed that episode, unfortunately.
Because they're
And
dead.
well, on the table is a bottle of champagne and
Okay.
a bottle of
Half
cyanide. Yeah. So they
Wait, a
assume
bottle of cyanide
and champagne,
and champagne.
some champs. So they assume this must be like a double suicide,
Oh.
murder suicide. Something's up in the living
Right.
room.
But
There's
this
their
is a
son.
doctor, right?
Yeah, it's a doctor.
Yes. He was.
He's a
Okay.
respected doctor. They're in Brooklyn. But in the living room, there's like their unconsolable son. Like he is just falling apart because he
Oh.
says he showed up to see his parents.
You just gave it away. You said he says.
He says he
says
showed
he
up.
showed
Oh, but that's not even giving it away. So the cops are slightly suspicious. They're like, nothing really but something doesn't feel right, and this kid is weird. Like,
Right. He looked like Dr. Crocker. He looked like Mr. Crocker, if you know Fairly Odd Parents.
yeah,
His picture.
he's very
Right,
much
Mr.
giving
Crocker.
Mr. Crocker vibes. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I gotta look that up. I know Fairly
yeah.
Odd Parents, but I don't know.
Oh, this dude is it. He's also he's like that crazy doctor off of Phineas and Ferb too. I don't know his name. He's got creepy, something's not right.
Mr. Crocker looks like a
Yeah.
and everybody in the 50s looked like that, I feel like. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're like, something's not right. What's up? And so, they don't have any evidence. They're still leaning on this, but they're gonna quietly investigate in the background. Tempest, you want to tell them what they noticed?
So they noticed that him being the only child, he was going to get $150,000. In today's money, that's 1.5 million.
Oh.
And they said immediately he would get that.
Oh.
So that already raised suspicious with him. And then, of course, he decided to have parties, to spend his money on a Maserati.
Oh.
Immediately. He was just balling out of control.
Talk about suspicious.
Yes.
Wait. Oh, I think we forgot one thing. That's also why the cops were like, suspicious. Y'all want to guess what homie majored in college?
Oh, yes.
Chemistry.
And he's got
Chemistry.
cyanide. Like, who has cyanide just laying around?
Right.
Exactly.
And that's not a way you kill yourself. Like, nobody just drinks cyanide.
No.
No.
So he's out here balling, but he's not balling alone. He's balling with his roommate. I'm gonna put quotes on this because there's a few things that make me think that these are the people we just called roommates because we were uncomfortable talking about partners.
Oh, this is where the
sex in 1953. His roommate named Dennis. Him and Dennis Webman are the ones doing these parties. And when Tempest says parties, she means all male, extravagant, over the top parties.
sausage parties.
I mean, I'm not going to say crude things, but sure.
Is that crude?
I'm such a good angel, Joe.
Oh yeah, right.
Than me.
You are.
But like they get kicked out of their apartment, and because he doesn't care about money, they go rent a penthouse in a hotel. Like whatever, they just keep going.
Yes. And on Central Park South, so that costs a lot of money.
Like there's nothing he is doing to make himself not suspicious. And then that's while they're investigating, the cops find out, okay, so things weren't what they seemed in the house, right? Here's this like upstanding doctor, school teacher, loyal wife, and their son, they paid for everything. He never wanted for nothing. But then while they're investigating, they find out that homeboy had a horrible relationship with his mama because his mama was verbally abusive and calling him constantly a sissy, a fairy, all those things.
Oh.
Which is why I put a few quotations around his roommate because I don't think they were.
Yeah. Usually call him that for a reason.
Yeah. So
exactly.
You have the fact that you majored in chemistry, the fact that just something's not right here. The fact that you and your parents weren't really close. Like when you were all inconsolable, it seemed like, oh, something's wrong. So about 4 months later, after the cops found it, they have no actual evidence. It's all circumstantial, right? It's all what they think. But there's a dispute between Dennis and Harlow, where Harlow, the son, ends up going to the hospital needing to get stitches and with bruises and all of that. Harlow shows up at the hospital. This is the son. He has stitches. He has black eyes, bruising, all that. That same night, Dennis leaves him. Dennis is out. And then Dennis tells a friend, basically, hey, yo, I was there when my homie killed his parents.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he tells the story where he's like, basically, Harlow called his parents, is like, I got a job, guys. I'm independent. Let's toast it up. He brought the champagne. He toasted with his parents. Each of them drank. Mom died immediately. Dad fell out. Dennis comes into the apartment and watches Harlow give his dad one last drink. So they watch the dad die
Yes.
together.
Whoa.
Right? Of course, homegirl was like Tiffany and Tempest, we not about that lying life.
No, she went immediately
to authorities. They had everything they needed. So they ended up getting arrested. Dennis gets 20 years, but homie got paroled in 1968. So he's out in the streets probably still.
He ain't served that long.
Yeah, he was not there long enough to be a part of this. People asked why he did it. He was like, I needed inspiration for my book. He was a writer, which is... And then Harlow, the son, wasn't just weird. He was mentally unstable. So he ended up going away for the criminally insane. He didn't go to prison. He went to an institution where he overdosed on sedatives in 1960.
Really? Did he die?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he was known as the cocktail killer.
Yep.
That's
Cocktail
what they
killer is what they call
Cocktail
him?
killer. Yep.
Cocktail killer.
So is this a story that like true crime people all know? Or is this one you guys were new to? Okay,
It was new to me.
No. Yeah, definitely new to me. It was a few things on it, but not that.
So if I'm
I
at
think
a party,
it wouldn't have resonated in my brain because one, it's 1953, two, it's white dudes and Upper East Sideness, like three, so long ago, and like there weren't any big consequences. I hadn't heard of it on a podcast yet. Have you, Tempest?
No, I have not.
And I feel like we've listened to a lot. And if someone would have been like, let me tell you about the cocktail killer, I'd have been like, say more.
yeah, because it just that name makes it sound like, oh, what's the cocktail killer? What's that?
Yeah.
Right.
I can see myself at a party and true crime people. Oh, I'm a big true crime. Oh yeah. Have you ever heard of the cocktail killer? And then
there you go. Pull it out your pocket from here on, Joe. Go.
Yeah. And I'll be like,
let me tell you about the cocktail killer. And like if you ever like just Google Harlow Faded and just look at the pictures. He looks off. Like I understand why the detectives were like, something's not
exactly. Right.
But wow. I do have to note it's not confirmed that these two were more than friends. However,
it all
context clues tell me
roommate
that they were a little more, especially with their domestic dispute.
Yeah,
right. And the wild men's parties.
Yeah,
and it was just a world where you couldn't come out then.
You didn't talk about it. Well, his mama apparently knew something was up because she wasn't okay. But dear humans, if you don't like your parents and you're an adult, you don't have to talk to him. You don't have to talk.
Yeah, that's it. You don't have to listen. Just go away. Don't kill him.
You won't inherit.
Don't kill him.
1.5 million, but just walk away. Don't go to jail. It ain't worth it.
That's why I don't get any of these people that kill somebody. Like, it's always spouses. Like, don't kill them. Just get a divorce.
Yes.
In relationships. But I'm always like, y'all know it's the first person you
are.
But here's the thing.
Why you gotta kill them? Like, just
people are so possessive and so I like quick detour story because I'm gonna tell you, Tempest knows this. Like, I'm sure my ex-husband would have killed me. We had to get a restraining order once.
Oh,
no. I'm telling you this because when he is doing all these actions, he's with someone. It is the sheer fact that he can't get to me. Like, that's a lot of these people. It's not, they don't even like, you don't love me. Like, we're not even together. We ain't been together in a while. It's the sheer fact that you can't get what you want from me that he violated his restraining order one day. And, he just showed up on our porch and just stared at my door. Stared at my door, Joe. Stared at my door. Tempest tried to call, because she was our third party court appointed advocate. Like, if he wanted to see the kids.
Oh, wow.
Just sat there at the door. It was crazy. But I say that to say people don't think about, oh, I'm just done and I'm going to move on. It is possession. You are mine. I don't care if I don't even like you anymore. Peterson, you had a whole boo on the side.
It's Scott Peterson?
Yeah. You didn't really, if you didn't love your wife, why are you procreating? Like, sir, get a divorce.
And the babies.
Walk
Yeah,
away.
none of it makes sense. Like, I mean, they say like, I guess like with rape and everything, like that's not a sexual thing. That's a power thing.
It's control. It's
so
Right.
similar to this whole
Power.
thing. Seems similar to that. Like it's a
Yeah.
mental. It's just a disorder that doesn't make any fucking sense.
There are
You can't make
people
any
who
sense about it.
snap, right? There are clearly
Yeah.
TV shows about people who snap. And that happens, but there are too many cases of like spouses, partners, parents, and kids, and like it's amazing. Like this is clearly a case. There might have been a little bit of snapness. There might have been a little bit of I've had enough, mother.
Well, if she was the mom was verbally abusing him, constantly.
Yeah.
So you're already like, I mean, I can't imagine what you would feel being treated that way your whole life, like somebody badgering you and then and
the press made it out to just be about the one thing the press did that was really weird. I read a few news articles and it was, like he wanted their money. I don't think that was his main motive. Like, I think he was out of control spending, but they were already supporting him. Like they weren't.
Yeah, he probably could have done this. All that money.
Only
spending.
child.
Yeah.
He could have mooched off his parents for a very long time. They had bought him an apartment in Manhattan. Like,
right.
He didn't need it. Wasn't a money thing. I think
it's never enough.
Like he may have snapped and he was already mentally unstable.
Yeah, if you're already unstable, and then if you just think about it, like say he is a gay man in the 50s and is being berated, but there's got to be some sense of everyone's telling you this is wrong and you're not okay and you're a weirdo and you're not normal. Like just society's constantly just telling you, and so somewhere deep inside you must be like feeling shame and guilt.
Right.
All shouldn't be. I mean,
but I also wonder if he had not been friends with Dennis, like would he have done it? Right.
Yeah, that's true. Because Dennis was like this.
Because you told Dennis, and Dennis was like, "Word up," instead of being like,
"Kill that."
He was hiding in the closet. He was in the house.
He was in the hallway closet while this stuff was going down.
Yeah, he was part of that.
Said that to someone of sane mind.
Yeah.
To be like, no, that ain't it, my friend. That's not what we do. And then you would have called somebody and be like, someone keep an eye on this fool. So I often wonder, would he even have like tipped the edge, which is why it's trash that Dennis got out in 1968 when he was out here.
You think there's like old people that were like deep in the closet in the 50s, and then now they're seeing how things like they go to a gay pride parade now, but like, yeah, holy cow, yeah.
There's
There's
some TikTok guys. They're all older gentlemen.
I love those guys, those 4 guys.
Yeah, but
I love those guys.
They did an interview where they talked about, back in their day and how it was, and
you had to be secret, you couldn't tell anybody.
You were always roommates and best friends, or this is Uncle so-and-so and Uncle so-and-so, and don't question how the other uncles not you. Same thing with women. Was there were I watched the documentary and the kid goes, I spent a lot of time at my aunt's house and her roommate Jean, and I never once thought about the fact that they went to bed in the same room. Like it never occurred to them. There was just their aunt Jean, aunt and her roommate Jean. Like that's it.
Well, I'll tell you what, I really like hearing this story told by you guys. I feel like it's just more accessible or something. Like I feel like you kind of make it relatable or something. Like you just tell it how it.
I just enjoy your tone.
Yeah, and regular people language. Like, yeah, you're not talking above my head or making me feel dumb or anything. Like I feel like it's relatable or something. Like something about it. Like
we're not coming at you like newscasters.
Yeah, it's not a newscaster.
Yeah,
it's not forensic or clinical. It's just like, hey, this is what happened. But that was good. That was a good story. I think that was good. Thank you for doing that. We'll wrap up real quick if you guys are good with me. Oh, do you have any references that you need to state?
It was New York Daily News, and that's the main one.
That's the one I have. Yes, that's the one I have.
Okay, is that the main one? Okay, that's good. I just like to cite sources. A couple quick things at the end of the month. I totally every once in a while I screw this up, and I have this big spreadsheet that I build like months ago, and then I go through and I update, and I totally didn't realize I had extra things that happened here. So I'll try to go through these quick. Super fast. August 29th, the USSR explodes its first hydrogen bomb. That same day, August 29th, Speedy Gonzalez, Warner Brothers cartoon character created by Chuck Jones and Michael Maltese. Looney Tunes is a very problematic character at times, very stereotypical. They made that, rumor was they made Speedy Gonzalez, he debuted on this date. According to Lambiek.net, Speedy Gonzalez was based on a dirty joke. Basically, the Speedy was having sex real fast. And the joke is like, I'll just tell the joke. The joke is this guy is, he knows Speedy Gonzalez is a super fast love maker. And so this guy is like, he and his wife are there, and he puts his hand over his wife's vagina. He's like, nope, you're too fast. You're not going to have sex with my wife, pal. And the guy sneezes, and he can't find Speedy Gonzalez. And he's like, hey, where'd you go? And Speedy Gonzalez says, hey, if you want me to leave, get your finger out of my asshole. So that's
horrible.
Yeah, it's awful. That's the
I will
dirty
never
joke.
look at Speedy Gonzalez again.
You will now
Right?
never look at Speedy Gonzalez the same. But when he really debuted in 1953, he was like more of a caricature and a lot more like kind of racist seeming. But then they redid him a little bit later, less like stereotypical. But in Cartoon Network took over Looney Tunes in 99, I think, sometime in the 90s, and they were like banned Speedy Gonzalez and were like, nope, that's too problematic. A lot of the cartoon has problematic racial things, but the League of United Latin American Citizens demanded you bring Speedy Gonzalez back because they felt like he represented so many good things about Mexican people or Hispanic people that it outweighs sort of the negative thing. So it's kind of a weird thing there with the cancellation type of thing, me too. So that was something.
And then when they brought back Looney Tunes, they all lived on that cul-de-sac. Speedy Gonzalez owned the local pizza shop.
Oh, really?
Also, you can deliver it to you extra fast.
That's a cartoon extra, yeah, really fast. So so some of that stuff. I mean, a lot of Looney Tunes is not like, but a lot of stuff they probably don't show anyone is really awful.
Pepe Le Pew and his sexual assaulting ass. Yeah,
he's gone now, Mr. Rapey guy.
Yeah.
And now you know a horrible, dirty joke about Speedy Gonzalez.
And we'll never forgive him the same.
You'll never look at that the same. You'll think
problematic Looney Tunes tied to, well, sexual things. Yeah.
Sexual things, yeah.
It was like it was like Cartoon Network before there was Cartoon Network. That was Looney Tunes.
It was very adult. There was a lot of adult stuff that went.
I mean, that was the audience. They were short.
Well, didn't they start playing those? Yeah, they played them at like movies and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But then they became like quote unquote kid friendly, and they just never were.
Yeah.
Well, this was very good. I really enjoyed the three of you sitting down with me for 8 hours here. We've been here recording, but TNT, I look forward to your podcast. Let me know when you guys are ready to record and do your thing. And you can do it however you do it because it'll be your show.
We're coming for you.
Yeah, and Gruff, please check out the Gruff and Loud show on History for Jerks YouTube channel. You can check that out. We got 3 episodes out. We're working on more. We have hours and hours of content because we spent the whole pandemic bullshitting with each other recording video. So anyway,
Joe, you're like the master producer.
I want to be. I want to just.
You are stuff. Not want to. You are. You're on the come up. You're a producer on the come up.
History for Jerks is going to be a thing. And then you and Jenny Kabul got your ladies' history.
Yeah, the badass bitches.
Yeah, the goal is to just put out a bunch of content because I one day realized like I spend too much time just sitting around doing nothing. Like, why am I not making something? So.
And there's a lot of interesting things to hear about.
Yeah, there's stuff that we don't know about, so let's make it. So thank you guys for making stuff with me. I look forward to hearing you two later. You guys are cool and fun, and I like hearing you guys solve crimes. And Gruff, don't forget to wipe and stay off the pipe.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for being here, ladies. And next week, Amy will be back. So it's time to get out of here, Chuck Berry.
Yay, Amy. Soulmate.
Matt Truman Ego Trip is the greatest band of all time. Buy their music.